ladies, I trash your party. You hate Trump, Biden, Charlie. You tell every kid you see that you are good. Science makes you mad. Indictments make you glad. For 8 years now we've got 'em, is all you said. Biology is just too much, so the doctors cut off your nuts, and you think that you are a babe. You call me names and swear at me, because you changed the way you be, and I don't want to live your fantasy. I know I'm right, you're fucking crazy. And tonight I'm gonna prove just how much you ain't too bright. You're kinda lazy. I know you're wrong, I know I'm right, you're fucking nuts.
I don't f***ing like you.
What?
I said I don't f***ing like you.
You don't like me?
No.
Look. I don't give a f***. I don't give a f***.
Sup? Okay. I trying something shit. Lost my train of thought. Someone's stupid comment just came up. But is it? It's in the cult. Let me see. Funny, you think you know me well enough to tell me I'm in a cult. You couldn't possibly. However, you are screaming from the top of every mountain that you're a card-carrying member of the right-wing conspiratorial movement. Pull your head out of your ass and look around you. The world isn't just black or white, blue or red, but it is male and female. It may not be black and white, comma, but it is just male and female, period. There we go. Oh, she blocked me after that. Wow, such heroes. Anyway, I guess RFK had some kind of assassination scare, which I'm not going to say the guy's a loony leftist, but based on their track record, on their willingness to kill their own, I'm going to go with probably a loony leftist. I'm just number-wise, you know what I mean? The statistics are pretty good. Anyway, the guy was dressed as a U.S. Marshal, but if you check his belt, he's wearing a New York NYPD badge. Don't know what's going on. Didn't really have time to look up more information, but... Yeah, see on the belt there, he's wearing a NYPD badge.
Officer, we have a bomb dog. You want to just take a look at that?
NYPD badge on his belt, Marshal's badge on lanyard, and he's carrying a sidearm.
Well, wait.
Open carrying a pistol, which Marshals don't do.
Hey, Will.
Also, neck tattoos aren't allowed in the Marshals.
Doug. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the big news today. Let me see. Let me get back to camera. And, wow, that was one set of big news today. The other set of big news was Hunter Biden was indicted on weapons charges. Now, where's my Here it is. But I have a question. Maybe we should start a poll. How many of you actually think that drug addict is going to see fucking jail time? Who?
High quality bullshit.
Yeah, he ain't going to prison. As a matter of fact, I don't even think this. Well, let's talk about this impeachment inquiry, because everybody keeps saying it's an impeachment. It's not. It's an impeachment inquiry. Okay. Well, let's go back to, because the reason I asked another thing about this Hunter Biden thing. Here's a good question that I just saw in my Instaface.
So I have a question. Did Hunter's home get raided today? 3 federal gun charges. They didn't search his home for contraband or other guns. Did they arrest him? Why did they arrest him? Is he going to be out and about till trial? Does anyone else get treated this way? Trump gets his home raided over this ridiculous document dispute made up. Other people get their homes raided at dawn by agents with guns drawn. It shows you that this Justice Department, which has been protecting the Biden clan for so long, continues to protect them to this day, contrary to the rule of law, and in a way that shows they can't be trusted to fairly administer justice.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
By the way, that gun charge, just the lying on the federal form, carries a 10-year fucking prison sentence. It's a federal crime, and it carries a 10-year prison sentence. It's a federal crime, and it carries a 10-year prison sentence. Okay, I'm looking for. Now, before we even get to the this indictment inquiry, which I put the link to the evidence they have just to get probable cause in the description. But I want to communist wannabes. I'm sick of you fucking cunts.
You're a cunt. You're a cunt now. You've always been a cunt. And the only thing that's going to change is you're going to become an even bigger cunt. Maybe have some more cunt kids.
I literally, all I said was, I don't ask these are like college kids, probably liberal arts, maybe gender studies or lesbian dance theory degrees. But I don't ask them for success. There are none. I've read too many history books. I ask them for failures where a shit ton of people didn't die. That's what I asked them for. I didn't ask for success because they'll never give me one. What I got for an hour, as I was listing every country that killed 100,000 people or more, usually more, in the name of communism. I got as far as, I think it was, and I had them alphabetical next. Well, North Korea was the first because, king of the communist dictators. But it goes North Korea, then I think the next one was, I can't remember. I got as far as China, anyway. And all I got was insult, insult, insult. And I was giving them one for one. I got as far as China. I did not get one failure where people didn't die. All I got was insults. What do you know about it? Obviously more than you. I could fucking list the countries and the number of people who died. So this is what's coming out of your colleges, folks. This is the shit you're paying for. You wonder why our country is so fucked. It's because your kids are fucking idiots. Holy fuck.
You stupid fucking cunt.
Hey, you stupid fucking cunt, you idiot.
Anyway, back to the indictment inquiry. Let me see if I can find it. I have it. It's here somewhere. Anyway, the indictment, I put it, maybe it's in sound effects. Indictment inquiry. I'll talk about that in a bit. But the indictment inquiry is, where did I put it? And I know it's got to be under Sniffy Joe. It's in here with all his lies. I have so many fucking lies from this asshole. Who voted for this douche? I think whoever voted for him owes the United States, the government, the country, reparations. You are that fucking stupid. Oh, here we go. I found it. But people keep saying this is an impeachment. It's not. I'll be straight up and I will say it. Do you really think this guy's going to be impeached? I don't think so. I think they're going to run the inquiry to satisfy the masses and say, what? They didn't do anything. Although, if you check that link, well, there's... And, of course, the lamestream media is already running interference. But, and they went after the GOP, the people in the GOP. This is revenge for Trump. They actually have more evidence on Biden than they have on Trump. And we'll get to the Trump thing after I get done showing you the corruption in the Biden thing, which I've already shown you some of the Biden corruption, because his son should be sitting his ass in jail. His house should have been raided in case he has more guns. And how does this asshole still have his lawyer's license?
I think the impeachment inquiry is absurd. The American people want us to do something that will make their lives better, not go off on these chases and witch hunts. The bottom line is, as we have said, you can only accomplish keeping the government open in a bipartisan way.
Complete lying prick.
House Democrats will defend President Biden today. We will defend President Biden tomorrow. We will defend President Biden next week. We will defend President Biden next month. We will defend President Biden next year. We will defend President Biden until the very end.
Dang, an imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived. Everybody knows you never go full retard. You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
And so this is the constant and persistent dysfunction, chaos, and just complete disorganization on the part of the Republicans who cannot run the government. And instead what they are doing is focusing on doing the bidding of Donald Trump, distracting from Donald Trump, and trying to launch a completely baseless, meritless impeachment investigation. It is one thing to actually go forward with any misconduct, but we're not talking about impeaching Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is being dealt with by the Department of Justice. There is no evidence, none whatsoever, and I don't care how much they say otherwise. I looked at it. There is no direct evidence that President Biden was involved in any way, shape, or form in Hunter Biden's business dealings, and they would be going forward with an impeachment inquiry based on lies.
Hospital-tested, clinically proven bullshit.
It's going to be funny to listen to Democrats say there's no evidence for the next 6 months, because here's just 3 pieces of evidence right here. That's off the top of my head. Okay, so Putin's billionaire buddy wires the Biden family $3.5 billion, and then they sit down for dinner with Joe Biden, and then Biden leaves her off the sanctions list twice. Right there, you could open an impeachment inquiry. Or how about when Joe Biden flies his son to China, he comes back with a bucket of cash and then gets on the, hey, guys, you better pay up the rest or my dad's going to get revenge on you. And what do you know? Joe Biden starts writing the communist Chinese guy's daughter's recommendations to get into Brown. And then they grease the regulatory process so the Chinese can buy an American car company. Oh, yeah, and then Hunter gets that diamond for about $75,000 that he lost. Because if Malia Obama got a diamond and then President Obama went soft on the country that gave it to him, I'm sure that would not be a big deal at all. And then who else do we have? We have Biden flies his son down to Mexico City. Hunter meets with the president of Mexico and Carlos Slim, comes back with money, and then complains, guys, I've gotten all of your clients into the White House to meet with my dad, and you haven't paid me a dime. Where's the cash? They can't answer those three situations. So I can't wait till they have to answer about the burner phones, the 20 shell companies, or Joe Biden on a voicemail saying, son, I read the Times piece about your shady deals in China. You're in the clear. Now, how would he even know if he was in the clear if he didn't know what his son did? And how do you not know what your son did?
No evidence.
You called your son every day for the last 20 years. Hey, son, how'd you get the Porsche Panorama? Hey, son, where did you get all the money to take me to St. Croix 8 times in a row?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask, what actual evidence do you have as opposed to allegations to show to the American public that would merit an actual impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden and prove that today isn't just about some of you...
Oh, I don't know.
McCarthy for the sake of enacting political revenge.
This isn't about political revenge. We have the bank accounts. We can see, ma'am, you can see that the homes that the Bidens own can't be afforded on a congressional or Senate salary. You also understand that it's not normal for family members to receive millions of dollars from overseas.
Hey, loony leftist, nothing to say.
It's not normal to have 20 shell companies. These things are not normal, and it alludes to not only just widespread corruption, but money laundering, if not influence peddling itself. And we also have the president, or the vice president at the time, on record saying that the prosecutor was fired. Well, son of a bitch, the prosecutor was fired, right? Because the prosecutor was going after the company that his son was working on. That's what we have. If you can't see that, if you are that blunt, look, I'll turn it over to the attorneys.
I can't see that. They think it's political revenge.
It's because you don't report on it.
We're here reporting on it today.
I'm not sure how you know what the American people think, but here's what they might wonder. Actually, if you're a federal prosecutor, you would be asking yourself, how can there not have been an indictment for a FARA violation against Hunter Biden? How can there possibly... my understanding and discussions with staff have confirmed my impulse that this would be very much the basis of a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act investigation, given the circumstances that we know. The question is, it's funny. After we come out of the events that John Durham, for example, testified to our committees about how investigations proceeded through our investigative agencies without proper predication. It's not that you have to prove the case. It's not that, you understand, to this point, there's not been a single subpoena to a Hunter Biden bank account or a Joe Biden bank account or any other Biden family member's bank account. Because until an impeachment inquiry commences, that's not a jurisdictional possibility. Well, it would be stretching jurisdiction to do that. But
you need probable
cause.
There's
ample predication at this point in time based on that very unusual set of circumstances, which is for no apparent payment for expertise or services rendered. Biden family members writ large received over $20 million.
That we know of.
It is very simple for someone just to insist there's an absence of evidence. But if you can look in the face of that and contend that's, anyone has a right to their opinion. What they can't do is change the facts.
And I invite you to go to the website clyde.house.gov/Biden crime family.
It's in the description.
And you will see all the evidence from the Oversight Committee. You will see all the evidence. And if you're willing to read it, I think you'll be convinced.
Thank you all.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
But then there's going to be the politics of how do you move through this in a way that doesn't necessarily blow up in your face, given, as you all have said, we have not seen any evidence, hard evidence, directly connecting wrongdoing on the part of then Vice President Biden, now President Biden, and
that's
Hunter
what
Biden's
the
business dealings or
impeachment inquiry is about, to get hard evidence.
I want to add one thing.
They have probable cause.
Kevin McCarthy does have in this moment on his side is public opinion. I mean, we just released a poll last week, and we saw that despite that lack of evidence having been presented, a majority of Americans...
It's on the website. Check it out.
I mean, 55% in our poll said they think President Biden has acted inappropriately during the course of this investigation while he's been president.
Joe Biden is a lying sack of monkey nuts.
6 in 10 Americans think that either Biden did something illegally or acted immorally or in bad faith in some way, did something wrong here when it comes to the business dealings of Hunter Biden when Joe Biden was vice president. So there is a perception issue that the White House is going to have to battle, and that is the perception issue that the House Republicans and Kevin McCarthy right now are leaning into. Both sides are going to need the evidence or lack thereof to make their final case to the American people as this goes forward. I would just note one thing. Manu made a very smart comparison looking back to 2019 when Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats launched that initial Trump impeachment inquiry. One thing that is so fascinating to me about the difference in the politics internally in the House at the moment, Nancy Pelosi did that when some of her moderate frontline members sort of flipped and decided they had been so reluctant about moving ahead with the impeachment, especially those with like national security credentials, a lot of those freshman members, they got on board with that, and that's when Nancy Pelosi went forward. Here, it is the reliable, solid, hardcore conservatives pushing McCarthy here, and those frontline members who determine Kevin McCarthy's majority have clearly not yet been fully on board with this. And so it's a difference in the internal politics in the way each of these speakers handled it. And then I just think, guys, we have to step back and look. You know, did our founders envision impeachment, high crimes and misdemeanor, as now a sort of quadrennial political tool for no matter which party is in power in the White House or in the House, that this is just becoming a way of life? I've been covering American politics for north of 20 years now. This will now be the fourth presidential impeachment process, at least, getting kicked off in that time, and it had been a long time prior to that. Nixon obviously didn't move forward to a formal impeachment charge, but this is now the way of American political life, and I am not sure that that is a healthy thing for our system.
That is what's known as being stunningly full of shit.
What impeachment inquiry is to do is to get answers to questions. Are you concerned about all the stuff that was just recently learned? Do you have any concern? Have you asked the White House any questions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe the president lied to the American public when he said he'd never talked to his son about business dealings? Yes or no? It's all right.
I can't answer that.
You can't answer that? Do you believe when they said the president...
Can't answer that, I'll lose my job.
Do you believe that happened?
That's what the testimony says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe the president went to Cafe Milano and had dinner with the clients of Hunter Biden, who believes he got those clients because he was selling the brand?
That's what the testimony says.
Okay. Do you believe Hunter Biden, when you saw the video of him driving a Porsche, that he got $143,000 to buy that Porsche the next day? Do you believe the $3 million from the Russian oligarch that was transferred to the shell companies that the Bidens controlled after the dinner from
nothing to see here.
Place?
So the testimony.
Okay, then I go back. Do you think the president lied?
But is that an impeachable? Is lying an impeachable?
Yes, it's impeachable, you fucking idiot.
All I'm saying is, I would like to know answers to these questions. The American public would like to know, and that's what impeachment inquiry provides.
Probable cause. Definition. Probable cause is a requirement found in the Fourth Amendment that must usually be met before police make an arrest, conduct a search, or receive a warrant. Courts usually find probable cause when there is a reasonable basis for believing that a crime may have been committed, for an arrest, or when evidence of the crime is present in the place to be searched, for a search. Under exigent circumstances, probable cause can also justify a warrantless search or seizure. Persons arrested without a warrant are required to be brought before a competent authority shortly after the arrest for a prompt judicial determination of probable cause. You know you're in a woke cult if 47. You believe Joe Biden is a good president and isn't corrupt at all. See number 6. Reality isn't real. You know you're in a cult if 6. You believe reality isn't real. Delusional, characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition.
So, this inquiry, and I've seen I went over to the website, which is in the description. Go check it. I'm telling you, go check it out. I think I'm going to do some of those videos like I do in my InstaFace, where right now I'm working on them grooming your kids. I have no idea why you're not putting bullets in fucking brains, but, oh shit, I can't say that in YouTube. Yeah, fuck you, YouTube. I don't live in the States. They're your kids. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to, I think I'm going to go over and make videos like I did for, like, Sniffy Joe versus Turd Challenge. If anybody follows me on InstaFace, I have quite a few of those, like 58 of those. I have another 224 Trump accomplishments that, the Turd Challenge that nobody wants to take. I have like, let me see, 256. Here's oh no, that's...
U.S. stock market continually hit record highs.
255.
U.S. stock market continually hit record highs.
But I honestly don't believe there will be an impeachment. I actually believe they'll go through this. They'll get issue some subpoenas, issue some warrants, just to satisfy people, and then say, didn't find anything. Because I believe it's just to appease the right, basically, the Republicans. I registered as independent. I just like numbers. I like having money. Yeah, it's that fucking straightforward with me. Money. Show me the fucking money or shut up. If if you can't handle money, you probably shouldn't be in the fucking White House. If you're sending more money to Ukraine than you are to Hawaii right now, you should not be in the White House.
Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me?
No! The definition of the word idiot, which you fucking are.
I literally watched a video, Candace Owens, a beautiful woman, intelligent too, who said we should not be getting involved in other people's fucking wars. Shocker, huh? Do you know what an M1 tank costs? $8 million a pop. We sent 35 of those. And not the old ones, the M1, we sent M1A1s, not M1A2s. M1A1s cost $8 million a pop. Multiply that by 35. That's not counting all the equipment and everything else, or the ammo that comes with it. Let's find out. How much does a Sabo round for an M1? Let's find out. I'm going to take you to, let's see. Let's go to Google. How much does a M1 cost? See, how much does a single round for a main or the M1? Let me see. We'll say Sable. There is a ballistic nose and 5 tail fins made of aluminum. Is carried in the gun tube by a 3-piece aluminum. That's a Sabo. What's the unit cost? Let me see. What's the unit cost? Unit cost and the corresponding train. Oh, that's cost. Looking for the cost on the service round. I'm not even looking at the training rounds, which I'm sure they're using to. Using an effective range is 3,000 meters, according to is capable of penetrating 540 millimeters of steel armor. Yards. The original is no longer in production. Has been succeeded. The training round is unit cost 1,121 rounds. So what did we carry? I think it was like 30 something, 40 something, something like that. Oh, let me get back to camera. All right, I think we carried. Let me look up how many rounds. I think we carried like 32 rounds service. We could carry 32 service rounds. So multiply 1,200 times. That would be probably a day's ammunition. So that's what you're sending to Ukraine. But what did they give in to Maui? 700 per person, 700 per household. If you fucking voted for the idiot in office right now, okay, now I want to talk about the Trump indictments. I found a couple more. Well, I shared this one last week. But I don't know if you know who Judge Joe Brown is. He had a TV show. I want to play that again to lead into the next one. I don't know if you know who Judge Joe Brown is. He had a TV show. I want to play that again to lead into the next one. I've heard someone say that before. Me. Well, normally they set fire to shit, but
going to deprive the American public of who they want to vote for is absolutely disturbing. Let's say it looks like the National Socialist Workers.
What's your opinion on what's happening with the Great White Hope, Donald Trump, right now?
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used, etc., etc. We know those as the Miranda rights. Miranda was not a nice person, but when you have law, a lot of times some of the most sacred principles are established through the aegis or the agency of somebody that's not nice. Now, if you're worried about downing Trump, you lose track of the fact that what you see, the indictments in New York, Florida, and Georgia are completely outside of the law. Take what this clown Bragg did in New York. Whether you like Trump or not, essentially what they did is indict him for being a victim of a blackmail attempt. They said he attempted to bribe Stormy Daniels to remain silent. This guy didn't go to law school and didn't pay much attention when he was there, because when you flip the script as you were instructed first year, if you had to pay somebody to be quiet, you got blackmailed. So he's the victim of a felony. If you indict a corporation for failure to file an explicit report as to what the payout was, well, there was a court gag order, and if they filed the explicit report, they violated the court gag order. Okay. Get to Georgia. I won't belabor all of the accounts, but I downloaded the 92-page indictment, and I was shocked to find that some of the crimes were that Trump is supposed to have advocated checking out Newsmax, Fox News, and some other conservative, religious-based news institutions. They're legal. Hell, I read them. So that's supposed to be somehow or another criminal now. All right, you get down to this thing in Florida, and they're talking about the documents. Well, let's forget what Trump did. Let's go back when he was not president of the United States and George Herbert Walker Bush was. There's a case from 1988, U.S. Supreme Court. It's called United States Department of Navy versus Egan, E-G-A-N. And if you read the concurring opinions, they say, since constitutionally the president is the commander-in-chief of the military and chief diplomat of the country, he has an inherent power to declassify or classify anything, any document, in any form, shape, or fashion he chooses.
Again, I say,
he can do what he wants with
I've heard that before.
Guess what?
I fucking said it.
That causes it to be prepared says it is for the exclusive purpose of advising the president on the state of our intelligence versus what's going on in the world. So he also has a fiduciary responsibility. It's been held that you do. Once you take that oath, whether you are in office or not, it still binds you, and you have to make an assessment on whether archivists have appropriate security clearances. And also, the other thing goes to this. Even if Congress comes up with a law that says he can't, well, that's unconstitutional. And Marbury versus Madison, 1803, 220 years ago, says if Congress passes an unconstitutional act, it is null and void. And that's what seems to be the case here. So you keep going into it, and you find something that is very disturbing. Individuals belonging to a party are going to do the equivalent of a child in elementary school throwing something at another child and then running.
Actually, the loony left just usually set fire to shit.
You just wait until you go, my mommy picks me up. You won't be able to catch me. Nah, nah, nah. See, that's what it looks like. And the idea that three individuals are going to, or three little entities are going to deprive the American public of who they want to vote for is absolutely disturbing.
Election interference.
Like
that's what it's called.
Socialist Workers Party.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not familiar with that, the acronym for National Socialist Workers Party is Nazi, N-A-Z-I. And we remember Adolf and Heinrich and all those guys. And what happened?
Let me ask this. Do you think they're going to put him in prison?
There's no way this should stand on appeal. What they want to do is take allowance of what Biden and Spence and Byrd introduced.
Election interference
is legislation that allows a U.S. attorney for the specific purpose of crippling someone, bringing criminal charges, even if there's no chance of making them stick. This is what I said was happening when they started the prosecution of Dr. Bill Cosby. I said, this is so far on the wrong side of the Fifth Amendment, there's no way it would stand. Now, I've talked to Dr. Cosby personally several times since he got out, and they offered him immediately, we'll let you out 2 or 3 days if you'll just go along and concede. No way. He wouldn't. And the bottom line is you can't violate the Fifth Amendment by saying one DA says we're not going to prosecute. Okay, so now he doesn't have any protection against being required in a civil matter to answer interrogatories. And then another DA coming in and saying, we're not bound by that. We're going to take his interrogatories and use them as basis for our prosecution. He never admitted wrong. All he was doing was saying, hey, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, sex revolution when all this was going on. They got what they wanted. I didn't take advantage of them. But you see, those were constitutional principles that are more important than anyone's grievance because they impact all of us. That's what's scary about this whole thing.
Amazing. Short answer. What is the solution to all this mess?
Home training, but since we don't have home training, we have to get back to where we were.
Start kicking the shit out of some loony leftists. Get them out of these offices.
Which is churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, the public, the movies, the entertainment industry. The people start talking about character, making where you live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, etc. Being brave and courageous, men and women of public peace, dignity, order, otherwise, where it's up to us to do this. Nobody's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
Legal experts say Georgia charges against Trump violate democratic norms. The Georgia grand jury's indictment of former President Donald Trump over his efforts to overturn 2020 election results may violate democratic norms, but that doesn't mean the case will be resolved quickly, legal experts told the Epoch Times. Their comments came after President Trump and 18 co-defendants, including several of his former attorneys, were indicted in Fulton County, Georgia, late on August 14 over Mr. Trump's efforts to contest the election in Georgia. Charges range from violating Georgia's Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, soliciting the violation of an oath by a public officer, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, and conspiracy to commit filing of false documents. Mark Miller, an attorney at the Pacific Legal Foundation, said that although he is neither a supporter or opponent of President Trump, he is worried about a growing trend. The new case, along with prosecutions in New York, Florida, and the nation's capital, each reflect a troubling tendency. Our country seems to be falling into criminalizing politics. It doesn't serve the country's best interest for either party to criminalize what is already a dirty game, yet here we are. Mr. Miller is disturbed by the RICO, first enacted at the federal level in 1970 to go after the mafia. More than 30 states have adopted their own RICO statutes. But because the law was written very broadly, it has been used to prosecute people that RICO wasn't really intended to go after. Most notoriously, RICO was used to prosecute pro-life activist Joseph Scheidler for protesting against abortion. But the Supreme Court ruled in his favor in 2006, saying RICO was not meant to go that far, that Joe's free speech rights cannot be curtailed by claiming he was threatening other constitutional rights, Mr. Miller said. President Trump will argue he's allowed to believe and say that he thinks he won the election, and as applied here in Georgia, that he thinks a recount would have turned up the votes that he needed to win, no different than Vice President Gore felt that if you counted every dimpled Chad in Florida, he would have won. And then you layer on top of it, that so many of these co-defendants are lawyers, he said. So now you're not just saying that President Trump's not allowed to believe that he won and try and fight the outcome no different than Vice President Gore, but you're saying that he can't rely upon lawyers. These lawyers are giving Trump advice saying yes, you can seek to overturn the election, and here's the strategy. Now it's no, you shouldn't have listened to those lawyers. In fact, what they were telling you to do was criminal. Vice President Gore challenged the outcome in 2000, as did John Kerry in 2004 and Hillary Clinton in 2016, and we all know about 1960 with Nixon and Kennedy in Chicago. It's just not unreasonable for Americans to believe that their candidate got shafted, and we've never previously said that that amounts to criminal behavior. Before these Trump indictments started, it seemed that the country was moving on, but now every time he's indicted, he seems to get more popular, Mr. Miller said. RICO lawyer weighs in. Attorney Etten Mark of Mark, Migdal, and Hayden in Miami, who has handled many RICO cases, said he wasn't surprised the charges were brought under RICO, which he described as a useful statute when you're looking to encompass claims against a scattered group of people without any real formal affiliation, but they are all working towards a common objective. The indictment begins with the premise that it's a crime to try to overturn a federal election, and then officials are delineating all of the things that Donald Trump did or said in furtherance of that
Hillary
particular
Clinton try
crime,
the same thing?
including statements on social media and communications with state officials in Georgia. There's obviously a difference between using the judicial process to claim that there's been some defects in connection with the election, and getting in front of a group of people and making false allegations, he said. The difference between Mr. Gore and Mr. Trump is that once the courts had ruled, Gore conceded. But Mr. Trump went on national television telling everybody who would listen that the election was stolen and the results are illegitimate.
So he said the election was stolen, so the First Amendment doesn't apply anymore.
Communicating with various officials throughout the state of Georgia in order to get them to engage in illegal conduct in order to help him overturn the election. And I think that is what the crux of the indictment is. Indictment does not seem strong. Attorney Kurt Levy of the Committee for Justice said the indictment certainly does not seem strong, adding that he was struggling to understand what exactly the underlying crime was. It doesn't get explained enough that conspiracy to do X is not a crime unless X is a crime, he said. The indictment seems like the election interference case brought in the District of Columbia by Special Counsel Jack Smith, he said. We really don't like the way you handled your challenge to the election results, Mr. Levy said. We really think you'd behaved badly, and now we're going to try to squeeze it into some existing statutes. Legal attacks on Mr. Trump's lawyers are also unsettling, Mr. Levy said. Any lawyers who wanted to help Trump had to basically resign if they were working for a big law firm, had to face having bar complaints brought against them. There was a clear message intimidating anyone who might want to help, from aiding Trump or anyone else that the left thinks is a horrible person, and now we're seeing it again, actually indicting those lawyers. There are so many democratic norms that are being destroyed by this witch hunt, this attempt to put Trump in prison. One of them has to be the right to representation. I don't think these lawyers did anything wrong. They certainly took aggressive positions, but that's what a good lawyer is supposed to do. Cornell law professor William Jacobson told Steve Lance of NTD, sister media of the Epoch Times, that Georgia authorities are doing a shock and awe attack on Donald Trump and his supporters. I don't agree with Donald Trump's conduct after the election, but I also don't think it was criminal, Mr. Jacobson said.
World-class designer bullshit.
Now I want you to go back and listen to my Blue City murder problem, the list of attorneys that are Soros-backed rogue attorneys, and that attorney in Georgia is on that list. Yes, Georgia is Georgia has one of those cities, and she is it. Fanny something or other. What a fucking name, Fanny. Fanny is another word for ass. Fits her. Anyway, did I mention I'm forgetting the things I've mentioned because I didn't make a list this week like I did before. I heard a interview with, I did mention because I said she was a beautiful young lady and very smart. So yes, get the fuck out of Ukraine. We looked up what a sable round cost. $1,010 a piece. So, and we carried 32 of them, so it's like $30,000 per tank. And we sent 35 tanks, plus $8 million for the tank, plus fuel, plus maintenance, plus parts, plus shit. I wonder what a muzzle bore sight MBD costs. Muzzle bore sight device. I bet you they're expensive because they have optics and all kinds of shit in them. Sometime maybe I'll look it up. Maybe I'll get Jimmy involved because he's a better tanker than I was. I was infantry. I started in infantry. I liked infantry. I went to war in infantry, and I could fuck anybody up from a long ways away just in infantry. I was a good tanker too. I mean, I could shoot, and I could do maintenance, and I could do all that shit. But nobody's in chat. I got chat up, like specifically because last week it fucked up and I didn't see the message until later, and nobody's in here. Of course, it's it's almost 9. It's only. And I invited more loony leftists. They didn't come either because I think they knew that I was going to fuck them up and fuck them up hard. Let's see what's going on my social media. Sometimes that's fun too. Let me see here. Let's see. One of them just blocked me. I put her. Where is? Let me see. Let's see what this one is. Lift your. No, that's. Oh yeah, this is a good one.
State of emergency over inflation, blames D.C. Kemp's executive order lasts until October 12th. By Teddy Grant.
The Democratic governor
September
of Georgia
12th,
declares a state of
2023,
emergency over
6:09
inflation.
p.m. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has declared a state of emergency in response to high inflation, blaming policies coming out of Washington, D.C. Kemp is temporarily suspending Georgia's excise taxes
Just go back.
enforced on particular goods, services, and activities on motor and locomotive fuel, his office said in a press release on Tuesday. From runaway federal spending to policies that hamstring domestic energy production, all Bidenomics has done is take more money out of the pockets of the middle class, Kemp said in the press release. While high prices continue to hit family budgets, hard-working Georgians deserve real relief, and that's why I signed an executive order today to deliver it directly to them at the pump. He added that his administration will work with Georgia's General Assembly to help Georgians weather the economic headwinds caused by this president, his administration, and their allies in Congress. Kemp's executive order goes into effect at midnight on Wednesday and lasts until October 12th. Consumer prices increased 3.2% in July compared to a year ago, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Core inflation, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, rose 4.7% in July compared to a year ago, particularly because price increases for commodities like new vehicles and housing stand above the overall inflation rate. The U.S. Department of Labor will release the latest inflation numbers on Wednesday. The governor said Georgia residents will save 31.2 cents per gallon of gasoline and 35 cents per gallon of diesel fuel under the state of emergency. In March 2022, Kemp signed legislation suspending the state's gas tax following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which led to a spike in gas prices across the country. During that 10-month suspension, Georgians saved $1.7 billion at the gas pump, Kemp said in Tuesday's press release.
Wow.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
No, they're not.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
Trade, more than $2 billion in fines were assessed to China and Canada in August for illegal trade practices.
See what else we got. Let me see. The Biden Brigade, saw that last week. Joe Biden indictments, inflation pushes American, Biden lies, Biden deficit. Our enemies are laughing at us. Let's see. Oh, did you? Oh, here's a good one. The Biden song. I like this. Wish I thought of it myself.
Oh, how this country has gone straight to hell since Joe and Kamala sat at the helm. He must do something other presidents didn't do. He's embarrassing this country and cheated me and you. Biden looks so good in jail. He and Kamala can go straight to hell. Biden looks so good in hell. He and Kamala can go straight to hell. He must have hired some help from abroad to ship in those ballots to accomplish his fraud. The GOP did nothing that I wouldn't do. Grassroots are doing what they could not do. Biden looks so good in jail. He and Kamala can go straight to hell. Biden looks so good in jail. He and Kamala can go straight to hell. I'll not wasted a lot of years not doing my own research. But tonight, that's all I do.
Oh shit. My braces.
And I never took the time so that you know. So before they take them away, please let me say, Biden looks so good in jail. He and Kamala can go straight to hell. Biden looks so good in jail. He and Kamala can go straight
Oh my God, that's so funny. Let me see if I can find. Oh yeah, this one here. I'm trying to figure out like. Yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on InstaFace.
This is an 11-year-old tweet from the woman who accused, in a civil case, not a criminal case, Donald Trump of sexual abuse. Of course, in a New York City court. I think she got $3 million. Now, I'm not saying anything. Just thinking out loud. What victim of sexual abuse posts jokes on Twitter about watching their, quote, attacker, unquote, on television? Just thinking out loud.
then I did this. Because people seem to forget. And I think I misspelled anniversary, but I don't give a shit.
They didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest or was it because of guys out for a walk one night and decided they'd go kill some Americans?
What difference does it make?
At this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator.
We did.
Now,
you weren't president.
Honestly,
fucking cunt. You ever like hate someone just the sight of their face? It's a term called fuckface. You just kind of look at their face and you just want to fucking punch them. Yeah, that's a fuckface. And then there's this. I like this one. This one's funny. Yes, our enemies laugh at us starter pack. Yeah. It's funny, but it ain't funny because it's fucking true. Yeah, well, let me see. Looney leftist and the Mueller report. Oh shit! I wish I could make it full screen, but so you're saying there's a chance? There was no collusion. What? So you're saying there's a chance? What? Can I now? Now can I? Please. What? Can I now? Now can I?
Taking it like a champ.
In case you hadn't noticed, I don't like loony leftist all that much. And this would not hurt my fucking feelings at all. Still waiting for a loony leftist to come in here and put me in my fucking place. Let's rock and roll.
I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. If you can't get the votes, you can't legislate by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus. Those are the words of Joe Biden. And, no, this isn't a matter of unearthing a clip from the 1980s or 90s in an attempt to play a game of gotcha on some antiquated flip-flop. That's Democratic nominee Biden, less than 3 weeks before the 2020 presidential election, talking to ABC News' George Stephanopoulos about the dangers of governing like a dictator. Joe Biden's Twitter account in October, I have this strange notion, we are a democracy. If you can't get the votes, you can't legislate by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus. In President Biden's first week alone, he has signed 37 executive orders and actions as of Thursday. That's 33 more than the guy he indirectly referred to as a dictator, in the form of predecessor Donald Trump. It's 32 more than his old boss, Barack Obama, and 37 more than George W. Bush, who signed 0 in his first week as president.
A week.
With unity we can go do great things, important things, Biden said during his inaugural address. Unity is the path forward. We must meet this moment as the United States of America. We've never failed in America when we've acted together. Without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is a historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward, he also said, in a speech lauded by those on both sides of the political aisle. Even the New York Times editorial board is calling on the president to pump the brakes on governing exclusively by executive fiat. Ease up on the executive actions, Joe, read the Thursday headline. President Biden is right to not let his agenda be held hostage, but legislating through Congress is a better path. But Biden's deeds, with more than 36 executive orders and actions, simply have run in direct contrast with his words of unity and compromise. That's a nice way of saying that, at least so far, everything the president promised regarding working with the other side has been utter nonsense, bullshit. Particularly when considering that his party controls the House of Representatives and the Senate. If history is any indication, most executive orders derive from a president's thirst to bypass Congress. And on day one of the new administration, as a specific microcosm that underscores this point best, the Biden team, in a rush to satisfy the thirst of the party's left flank, decided to shut down expansion of the XL Keystone Pipeline and the 11,000 full-time and temporary jobs that went with it.
Complete lying
He did this during a pandemic, with jobs already at a premium. Multiple unions that endorsed Biden, including the Teamsters, expressed their dismay with the unilateral decision by the president. The Teamsters strongly oppose yesterday's decision, and we would urge the administration to reconsider it, said Teamsters head Jim Hoffa upon hearing the news.
Jim Hoffa. We
In a
found
related
Jimmy.
Story, Russia and Venezuela will benefit nicely from a Keystone-less U.S. in filling the energy void, while China will be quite pleased that the U.S. joined the Beijing-friendly Paris Climate Accord, which was among the 37 executive orders and actions signed. Biden hasn't been asked any direct questions by the press on the job-killing Keystone order, of course.
High-quality bullshit.
That's what happens when the leader of the free world requires a staffer to call on a predetermined list of invariably friendly reporters, compiled by his team, instead of calling on reporters himself. How friendly. Here's a question around the topic of unity posed to him on Tuesday. Given that unity is such a key part of your message and your promise, can you talk and reflect a little bit more about what is unity when you see it and as you define it? Asked Washington Post White House correspondent Annie Linsky, one of the 6 reporters permitted to question the new president in his first press conference. Note, whenever anyone in power is asked to reflect or define anything, it's an exercise of offering up not just a softball but a beach ball to the person on the receiving end to knock it out of the park. Unity also is trying to reflect what the majority of the American people, Democrat, Republican, Independent, think is within the fulcrum of what needs to be done to make their lives and the lives of Americans better, Biden answered.
Bullshit.
Ultimately, most executive orders stem from a president's desire to bypass Congress. Biden's actions are the opposite of someone who preaches compromise, something a majority of the Democrats, Republicans and Independents ultimately want but likely won't get with this administration.
Complete lying prick.
In a Harvard Cap/Harris poll taken after Trump took office in 2017, 91% of Americans said they want the two parties to compromise on their principles to get things done, according to Mark Penn, a former senior strategist for President Clinton and later for Hillary Clinton. Penn helped design the poll. President Biden's actions show he isn't terribly interested in what more than 9 in 10 Americans still undoubtedly want.
High-quality bullshit.
You can't legislate by executive order unless you're a dictator, the 2020 version of Joe Biden said 3 months ago. That guy should say hello to 2021 Biden sometime and ask what exactly has changed since his pre-election remarks. More Americans are now refusing Beer 19 Hokey Pokeys not because they oppose the shoulder jab but because they oppose a mandate from a president they do not trust. Ironically, using Hokey Pokey mandates in a futile effort to boost his sagging poll numbers, this feckless president has only hardened opposition to the Hokey Pokey. I had Beer 19 in May. My doctor tells me I'm better protected than any Hokey Pokey. What law gives this president the authority to tell my employer, an airline, to fire me next month if I don't get the hokey pokey?
Bullshit.
That question was posed this weekend while we waited for a delayed flight. There is no law. The mendacious Mr. Biden's mandate is merely an unprecedented executive power grab.
Complete lying.
This is the
prick.
kind of government coercion and socialist tyranny explained in the book. We didn't fight for socialism, America's veterans speak up. In it, veterans warn how government control over the lives of citizens is the ultimate goal of socialist regimes. The freedoms in our Bill of Rights and the individual liberty that is the cornerstone of our Constitution are anathema to socialists. Freedom and liberty are the antithesis of government coercion and control.
Are you fucking
When the elected
getting it?
officials and bureaucrats who run the government work for the people, socialist tyranny is impossible. They also describe how socialists use emergency situations to take control over the lives of citizens. In 2008, President Obama's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, said, "You never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that is, it's an opportunity to do things you could not do before. His use of the word "you" was wrong. He meant we.
Complete lying.
Apparently,
prick.
then Vice President Joe Biden understood. He and the leftist ideologues now pulling his strings took Emanuel's advice. Beer 19 gave them the serious crisis they craved. Once government gains control over any aspect of individual citizens' lives, it does not easily surrender such power. Victor Davis Hanson of the Hoover Institute, in an interview with Dinesh D'Souza on October 17, 2021, stated, "The left has declared war on the very idea of citizenship." According to our Constitution, elected officials serve at the pleasure of our citizens.
What's the difference
but to
between
Joe
a politician
Biden and his
and a flying
progressive
pig?
minions, individual
The letter F.
citizens are but mindless chess pieces to be manipulated by government. Rahm Emanuel admitted a crisis allows government to do things it otherwise could not do. Prior to the Beer 19 pandemic, a president might well have been impeached for insisting employers fire pilots, flight attendants, police officers, firemen, truck drivers, and heroic first responders and others, for violating an unconstitutional mandate. But, like all his socialist predecessors, Joe Biden unleashed a powerful propaganda campaign to deceive, distort, divide, and destroy opponents with fear. His pliant allies in the so-called mainstream media aided this strategy. That's why Mr. Biden used an executive order instead of congressional legislation to impose his fire them rule. Sadly, it's not over yet. The book also warns about the terrible history of socialist tyrants' unrelenting pursuit of government control even when results are disastrous. This is most likely the case with Biden's hokey-pokey mandate. Today, businesses are shutting down because they cannot attract or keep a sufficient number of employees, while Biden mandates are wreaking havoc on our already faltering economy by causing irreplaceable personnel to quit or be fired. Hence, there are some people who believe we may need a draft in the military.
Are you fucking
His
getting
stupid
it?
mandate. Are you ready to deploy to fight for Ukraine? I've already done my time. For the United States. This is unconscionable. Americans cannot be fired for their religion, skin color, age, medical condition, or sexual orientation, but Biden orders them fired for refusing the so-called Beer 19 hokey-pokey.
Bullshit.
This is socialist tyranny.
Hospital tested,
As a U.S.
clinically
Senator,
proven
Joe
bullshit.
Biden was known as a political moderate.
Complete lying.
When he ran for
prick.
president in 2020, he portrayed himself as the Democrats' middle-of-the-road candidate, a man who could work with both sides of the aisle and unite Americans of all political persuasions. However, when being a moderate wasn't helping his chances of winning the nomination, candidate Biden quickly switched horses in midstream, adopting the far-left platform of socialist Bernie Sanders.
Stinky horseman horse smelling
This move won him
motherfucker,
the
you.
Democrats' nomination and made him beholden to the radical left wing of the Democrat Party. Do you want proof? He appointed a man with a mental illness to be in charge of your family's health, that includes mental health. It also called into question Joe Biden's judgment, a subject tackled quite capably by award-winning journalist Caroline Glick in her column Joe Biden's Catastrophic Judgment. For example, concerning his judgment in handling the U.S. exit from Afghanistan, Ms. Glick observed Biden's judgment was never reasoned or fact-based and he was catastrophically wrong. She also makes the equally valid point that once the president adopts a position he is unwilling to listen to counterargument and he will not rethink his choices or positions, even after they have failed. Although Ms. Glick's comments were directed at the president's catastrophic handling of foreign affairs, her insights applied just as directly to his domestic socialist agenda, an agenda he pig-headedly adheres to even as it proves to be as much a disaster as the Afghanistan bug-out.
High-quality
In foreign affairs, Biden has proven to be a bumbling incompetent. On the home front, he has become a socialist tyrant in the mold of Hugo Chavez. Veterans warned this would happen in their book We Didn't Fight for Socialism, America's Veterans Speak Up. In this book, they laid out the socialist agenda President Biden would inflict on our country point by point. To date he has checked every box on their list. They warned how in
nobody's
socialist
listening.
Government agencies are weaponized and used to suppress citizen dissent. True to form, Joe Biden and his Attorney General, Merrick Garland, have directed the FBI to treat parents who oppose the teaching of critical race theory, CRT.
Sometimes I think I was shooting the wrong people.
As a result, this once highly respected agency is now viewed by many Americans as a bunch of jackboot thugs. In addition to weaponizing the FBI, the president has proposed banks be required to report citizens who spend more than $600 to the IRS so the government can monitor their spending. They warned how in socialist countries out-of-control government spending invariably leads to raging inflation and a burdensome national debt. Not surprisingly, with Biden pushing a tax and spend socialist agenda, prices of essential goods and services have skyrocketed, if you can get them at all, and the national debt has soared to unprecedented levels. In spite of this and proving the accuracy of Caroline Glick's comments, President Biden refuses to scrap his misnamed $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, a bill even moderate Democrats reject. They warned that in socialist countries, the work ethic is replaced by an entitlement mentality in which people who are perfectly capable of working instead choose to remain idle and expect the government to provide for all their needs. With Biden pushing a socialist agenda in which Americans of prime working age are paid stimulus dollars as part of the misnamed American Rescue Act, people are choosing to stay home rather than work. The president's socialist policies have created the unprecedented phenomenon known as the Great Walkout, in which working-age citizens are simply walking off their jobs and staying home. America is feeling the pain of this problem in every sector of our economy. The last U.S. military aircraft to leave Afghanistan took off at 3:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on August 30, 2021. According to President Biden, this flight officially ended America's longest war. Unfortunately, the Biden administration's evacuation of American citizens and allies from Afghanistan was so blatantly incompetent, callously negligent, and knowingly incomplete it is a stain on the very soul of our nation. President Biden and his sycophantic minions in the White House, State Department, and Pentagon transformed what should have been a long overdue welcome home celebration for American troops into a deadly cesspool of grief, betrayal, and shame. The loss of American military personnel and loyal Afghans in this long war are sad beyond words. So too are the imminent deaths of those left behind by a president who claimed no Americans or allies would be left behind. This egregious lie by Mr. Biden is one of many he and his administration repeatedly tell in an attempt to conceal their complicity in the worst self-inflicted disaster in American history. The only promises Joe Biden kept throughout his botched exit from Afghanistan have been to the Taliban. All we the people have gotten from our befuddled president is deception, distortion, and spin. He repeatedly looked into television cameras and insisted, no Americans will be left behind in Afghanistan.
Liar!
We now know hundreds were left behind. He told us the Taliban would refrain from taking revenge on Afghans loyal to America. We now know Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Haqqani death squads are searching house to house for those who helped us.
$85 billion worth of weapons and ammo.
Murdered. According to American Humane, the Taliban even killed U.S. military working dogs left behind in Biden's bug-out. President Biden claims our homeland is now safer than ever. Not so. Transnational terrorist
I know he has
organizations
dementia,
have been emboldened
but could
and will
he be
armed
really
with
be that
American
fucking
weapons
stupid?
left behind.
He's not the one running shit
Russia,
either.
Communist China, Iran, and North Korea are already using
Somebody find
Biden's
Barack
botched
Obama and
exits
slap
from
him upside the
Afghanistan
head and
against
say,
us.
dude, you gotta stop.
Mr. Biden says the U.S. has lost no credibility with our allies. But we now know the British Parliament holds him in contempt for incompetence, and other allies are furious he pulled the plug on Afghanistan without consulting them. Biden and his lackeys still insist the sudden downfall of the Afghan military and government could not have been predicted. But we now know it was predicted, and the Biden administration ignored the warning. Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, took Fox News reporter, Peter Doocy, to task when he asked if Americans were stranded in Afghanistan. We now know American citizens were beaten, had documents seized and were detained at Taliban checkpoints, preventing them from reaching the airport until too late. They are stranded. Psaki, apparently unable to distinguish between spin and outright lying, tried to tamp down a controversy by insisting she had not read a blockbuster story in the Washington Post, which claimed the Taliban offered to halt outside Kabul but the Biden administration welcomed them into the city because all the U.S. needed was the airport. If true, this unconscionable decision allowed the Taliban to block access to the only means of escape for Americans and loyal Afghans not yet at the airport. In his deceptive address to the nation on August 1st, Mr. Biden insisted, "We have enormous leverage over the Taliban to ensure they will allow American citizens and our Afghan allies to exit the country. We do not. The Taliban have all the leverage they need, hundreds of American hostages." The Biden administration's deceit is so blatant and habitual, truth has become another casualty of the long war in Afghanistan.
Fuck you! Yeah, that's my message to you. Fuck you and kiss my ass.
Pretty much. Whoever voted for this fucking guy, you owe this country reparations. If you're going to talk reparations, yeah. I saw this post on Instaface. It said, we should have little voting cards, right? Who we voted for. It doesn't even have to have just your name and a big R or a big D. The R should pay like $2, the last, like when Trump was in office, that's the price you should pay. All the cards with a big D on it should pay what, we're paying $5 or more for fucking gas. Because obviously they don't go to the same gas stations everyone else does, because
Joe Biden stated on October 27, 2022, in a speech in Syracuse, New York, "The price of gas is down from over $5 when I took office." Gas prices hit $5 a gallon more than a year after Joe Biden took office, not when he was inaugurated. If your time is short. When Biden was inaugurated in January 2021, the nationwide average price of gasoline was about $2.46 per gallon. Gasoline prices did exceed $5, but that peak came more than a year later, in June 2022.
A year after he took office? Wonder how the fuck that happened, huh? Holy shit.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
Anyway, no one's come into the chat. Actually, think I'm going to go over to Fuckbook now and see if I can get banned over there. Now, I can't do rooms over there anymore. I used to be able to do rooms where I could talk to people, and I was trying to do some experimentation with maybe doing video chat where people can talk. We could all talk back and forth, record it, and then use it as a podcast, but Yes, it's almost 9:30 and nobody's been in the chat, live chat, so I think I'm going to go over to Fuckbook and see if I can get some live chat going. It's been fun. I hope you enjoyed the information. And I don't believe there's going to be an impeachment at all. I don't believe Hunter Biden's going to see a day in jail. And things will go merrily on as corrupt as they always were. So, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But, yeah, sorry, but that's just how I feel. I mean, I live in Brazil. Corruption is just a part of daily life. It's government. But hasta la pizza, folks, and this will be available on my YouTube page, so watch it. Saturdays I trash your party. You hate Trump, Biden shot it. You tell every kid you see that you are gay. Science makes you mad, indictments make you glad. For 8 years now we've got 'em, is all you said. Biology is just too much, so the doctors cut off your nuts, and you think that you are a babe. You call me names and swear at me, because you changed the way you be, and I don't want to live your fantasies. I know I'm right, you're fucking crazy. And tonight I'm gonna prove just how much you ain't too bright. You're kinda lazy. I know you're wrong, I know I'm right, you're fucking nuts.
I don't like you.
What?
I said I don't like you.
You don't like me?
No.